So how do I sell an inherited house in Georgia?
Hey guys, I'm Brad, the Probate House Guy. Thanks for checking out this video today. By the way, I am an active real estate investor and a licensed real estate agent in the state of Georgia. And over the last 10 years, I have helped over 300 sellers get their property sold, whether that's a cash deal or listing it for them in the traditional fashion. I made all these videos because we've learned a thing or two about probate and estates over the last 10 years, and I'm just sharing my knowledge with you. By the way, I am not an attorney, nor do I claim to be an attorney, so please don't take anything that I say as legal advice. I highly suggest that you consult with a probate attorney or even a real estate attorney to discuss your unique situation and get some real legal advice from them. If you'd like to chat with us about the options on the property that you've inherited, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. You can go over to probatehouseguy.com and fill out the form there on the page, and a member of our team will be in touch with you ASAP. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Thanks.
So you inherited this house in Georgia. How do you sell it? Well, first of all, number one, you better have the legal authority to sell this house if you've inherited it, right? Because a lot of times inherited houses are still owned by the estate. And the estate needs to have a legally appointed representative, which means you, in most cases, there are some exceptions, I'm not going to get into that in this video, but in most cases in the state of Georgia, you have to go through the probate process with the probate court in order for someone, whoever, whether that's the executor or the administrator, to get the legal authority to sell the assets of the estate. If you don't have your letters testamentary or your letters of administration, this is in most cases, there are, like I said, there's some exceptions to this, but for the most part, you either need letters testamentary or letters of administration in order to be able to sell an inherited house that's owned by an estate. So that's number one, right? You've got to get the legal authority to do that. There's a whole bunch of other videos that we've got out there and other attorneys out there. I've done some videos with probate attorneys talking about this in the state of Georgia. You can do it yourself. You should really consult an attorney, to be honest with you. It does cost you some money, but it's going to go a lot faster if you go with an attorney. So anyways, number one, get the legal authority to sell the house before you can do anything. Okay. Let's assume that you got that checked off, right? You've gotten the legal authority. Now you're going to decide how you're going to sell the house, right? Are you going to sell it as is? Are you going to renovate it and get it ready to sell? Are you going to list it with an agent? Or are you going to sell it as is with an agent? Or are you going to sell it as is to an investor? Which one is the best route? Well, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide, but I'm going to give you some facts and some ideas to help you maybe make that decision. Okay, so first of all, I say this in almost all my videos. The best way to make the most amount of money for your house is to fix it up, make it look nice, make it look presentable, repair the roof if the roof is getting older in age, put a new HVAC system in. You have to make this property appealing to the buyers on the market, especially today in 2026. Buyers are pickier than ever. This is not the same market that we were in 3, 4, 5 years ago, where you could literally sell like a turd that's collapsing and someone would buy it. That's not the case anymore. So you have to make this house nice. And if you do those things, you get it ready, you present it, you take good professional photographs of this house with a professional photographer, and you list it with a good real estate agent. I'm not talking about your cousin Susie who, works at Wendy's but also has her real estate license. She might not be the best person to list that house for you. You really want to find an agent who knows your neighborhood and knows your area well to list that house for you, rather than your cousin Susie who just happens to be a part-time real estate agent, which nowadays it seems like everybody has their real estate license. So you need to make sure you evaluate and pick a good agent. And if you do those things, if you make it nice, you list it with a good agent, you take good photos. So if you do all of those things, you will get top dollar for that house. That is the best way to get top dollar. Now, obviously that comes at a cost, right? There's all the time, hassle, effort of going through all of those things. Or maybe you don't have the money to pay for the renovations to make it look nice. I mean, that's honestly very common, where they just don't have $40, $50, $60, $70, $100,000 to put into this house to renovate it, to get it in tip-top shape. So a lot of times people want to sell it as is. Sometimes, and in fact, very frequently with estates, including my own family, some people just don't the heirs just don't have the patience. They just don't want to do that, right? And it's so surprising to me because I'm a licensed real estate agent and I know a lot of agents. And I've been an investor too myself for over 10 years and flipped 300 plus houses. And I've been doing this for a long time. Okay. And I still run into agents who really have no idea what we do, we as investors do in this industry. And they think that everyone only cares about price and that's it. And that's just not the reality of situations, especially in probates and estates. It's not always about the money. Sometimes the family and the estate just doesn't want to go through the hassle of getting the house ready and doing all these things because they've got they've got their own lives and their own families and their own houses to worry about. And they don't want to do this. Plus, they just spent the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months going through probate with the probate court and getting their authority to sell. They're exhausted mentally, not to mention they lost a loved one, right? They lost a family member. So they're probably still grieving. Everyone grieves differently on different timelines. I know this very well because I lost my child a few years ago. Like my son passed away from cancer. Like I know what that's like, right? I almost lost my dad last year. He was this close to dying, but he was fortunate to get an organ transplant at the 11th hour, and he survived, and he's doing well today. My grandfather passed away a few months ago. I'm helping my family probate my grandfather's estate. That was my grandparents' house. My grandmother passed away many years ago, but my grandfather continued to live in that house, and now my dad and his siblings are selling that house, right? And I was just talking to my other grandfather's wife. He had remarried after my grandmother died, but his wife of the last 20 years, my grandmother passed away when I was younger. I was like 12 years old. My grandfather got remarried and married this woman, and they've been married for 20 years. He passed away a couple years ago, like 2 months after my son passed away. And she was talking about like kind of the estate stuff and maybe thinking about selling the house. Now she's actually a real estate agent herself, but she's been talking about maybe selling that house, right? And also inviting all the kids, my mom and her 4 other siblings, to come over to the house and kind of start getting some things. She's been sort of starting to clean the house out slowly because I think she just doesn't want to maintain it anymore. She probably wants to go buy a condo somewhere or something like that where she just doesn't have the maintenance of a house, right? So you got to think about that there's maintenance involved with a house. There's the repairs, and a lot of families just don't want to mess with that. So in some cases, the more appealing option is to sell it as is to an investor. Now, let's also talk about selling it as is on the market. What do you need to do to sell it as is on the market with an agent? Well, I would highly suggest that you clean the house out. And this is a sticking point for a lot of people. They don't want to go through the hassle of cleaning the house out, right? There's all kinds of stuff and junk. So that's why they sell them to us all the time, just full of stuff. I'd say 90+% of the probate estate deals we buy are full of stuff. The family goes in and kind of takes the things that they want, and then they leave the rest behind and then sell it to us with all the stuff in it and let us deal with it, right? That's very, very common. Now let's talk about selling it on the market as is. So you've got this house, so you've got to go in and clean it out, right? Are you going to clean it out yourself? Are you going to get dumpsters and then you guys do the physical labor? Are you going to hire laborers to come do it, but you provide the dumpsters? Should you hire a junk removal company? Yes, you should hire a junk removal company. Believe me, it's worth the money. I hire junk removal companies. I don't want to have to go recruit day laborers to come clean houses out, call the dumpster company, wait for them to come deliver a dumpster, order another one, coordinate the dumpsters to be, this one's got to be picked up and this one's got to be going. And, oh, they can't pick it up today. They can't pick it up till tomorrow. Well, now we have nothing to do. We can't clean out the house the rest of the day because the new dumpster won't be here till tomorrow. And everybody wants to go home and there's no work to do. So now this clean out is now lasting 2, 3, 4, 5 days because of trying to time dumpsters, right? So I hire junk removal companies that have like literal dump trucks, and they have multiple guys, and they come in, and they usually, my junk removal companies have 2 trucks, and they load one truck up, and those driver takes it off to the dump, and then they start loading the other truck, and by the time that this guy's back from the dump, the other truck's full, and they're just doing this rotation, and they can get an entire house cleaned out in like a day with just full of stuff. I've had them clean out like hoarder houses in maybe 2 or 3 days, right? Normal houses, they can get done by lunchtime, right? So that's why I hire them. They're way better at that. Or do you donate the stuff? Do you have an estate sale to get rid of the stuff? A lot of times estate sales are more trouble than they're worth, and you really don't actually make that much money off the estate. In my opinion, I would never have an estate sale just because the time and the hassle versus what you're actually making off of it just doesn't seem worth it to me. But there are plenty of estate sale companies out there that do this sort of thing. And obviously they're going to tell you otherwise because they want you to hire them, and then they make a percentage of the sale, right? But they do take a little bit of that burden off. But an estate sale can take weeks because maybe you don't always have one sale on one day. It's multiple sales over the course of multiple weekends, right? So you want to take that into account. Okay, so I would say you should clean the house out and get it clean at a bare minimum if it's in good condition, right? If it's in decent condition. For example, my grandfather's house that we're about to put on the market here as soon as my aunt gets her probate letters here within the next, I don't know, 4 weeks or so, she should have them. We're going to send my junk removal guys into the house, and they're going to we're going to donate some furniture. My aunt's going to handle it. She lives 5 minutes away. She's going to donate some furniture, handle all that stuff, and then we're going to send my junk removal guys in to kind of clean out the rest and get rid of the rest of the stuff so we can have the house emptied out. And then we're going to hire professional cleaners to come in and clean the house. Could we go clean the house? Yeah, we probably could, right? The whole family could get over there and, put in some elbow grease or whatever, but we all have our lives and our time and our kids and grandkids and all of the things going on with life. It's easier just to call a cleaner and have them come over there and clean the house, get it clean. Now, my grandfather's house isn't very good. It's dated, right? It's straight out of some of the rooms are out of the 60s, some are out of the 80s, some are out of the 90s. He's lived there. He built the house in 1965. He's been there for a long, long time. It is dated, but a lot of my handiness that I inherited came through my grandfather, and he took very good care of that house up until the day that he passed away. He mowed the grass the day he died. He ended up having a heart attack that night, but that afternoon he was out mowing the grass, right? He took impeccable care of this home, and it is in great condition. There's a few things we're going to do to it, just very minor things, but we're going to list it as is, still kind of dated, but I'm going to price it accordingly. Because me doing this for a long time, I know that what this house would sell for all fixed up. I know what houses are selling for kind of as is in the area. And I've already told my family it would be in our best interest, if you want to liquidate this thing quickly and get it gone quickly, to not be greedy, and let's list it for this price. And if we list it for this price, what might happen is we'll actually get multiple offers and the price will get bid up a little bit. That's the key in this market. You actually need to kind of price your house low to spur activity, and then sometimes you'll get some competition and then it'll get bid up a little bit and you'll get multiple offers, and then ultimately you'll actually get closer to maybe the number you wanted or maybe more than what you wanted. But that's the pricing strategy that works today in 2026. Now, 2 years ago, you could throw anything on the market for any price and probably some idiot would buy it, right? But that's just not the case anymore. Okay. So we're selling this inherited house in Georgia. You've decided whether you want to sell it as is, whether you want to renovate it. Obviously, if you want to renovate it, I've got other videos about renovating it. That's a lot of work, a lot of hassle. It's very expensive, especially if you don't have a lot of subcontractors like I do. You're going to pay kind of top dollar for these renovations. Do you really want to do that? I don't know. Only you can answer that question. Okay, so we've talked about all that. We've talked about getting the legal authority. We've talked about the ways to sell the house. Now, let's talk about sort of the process from the death to selling it. And what does that look like? I'm going to do two different processes here. I'm going to describe two different ways. Number one is the investor route, which is easy. Okay, so person dies, you go through probate. So step 2 is go through probate. Step 3 is now you've got the legal authority to sell. You've got your letters of administration or your letters testamentary, right? Now you reach out to an investor, or sometimes you do that beforehand. We have people reach out to us before they have their probate letters, like kind of when they know they're like 2-3 weeks out from getting their probate letters, they'll call us and say, hey, we're almost ready to sell. We can't actually sell until we have the papers in our hand, but we'll be ready here in the next few weeks. So if you can close in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, then, let's do it. So a lot of times we'll do that, where we'll go out and see it ahead of time and then agree to buy it. And we'll just set the closing date to whenever day they get their letters. I've literally had sellers that went to the probate court in the morning, got their letters, and then drove straight to the attorney's office and closed and sold the house like within an hour of getting their probate letters. We've done that many, many times, right? So sometimes we'll kind of get the ball rolling ahead of time so that when they do get their letters, boom. Now they do have to open a bank account. So a lot of times on their way to the closing attorney's office, they'll stop at the bank, open an estate account with their, because they have to have their letters in order to do that, and they have to have an EIN number. They'll open their estate account, and then they'll drive over to the attorney's office, sign the documents, and close and sell the house, right? Many times we've done that. Okay. So you're selling to an investor, you reach out to us, we come out, look at it, we make you an offer. If you guys like the offer, we will sign a contract. We have a simple DocuSign contract that we use. It's about 3 pages plus a signature page. I had my attorney write it up. I think it's been 10 years ago now. And it's just very simple. We stripped out a lot of the crap like that the state, they call them the GAR contracts, Georgia Association of Realtors. Like 90% of the verbiage that's in the Georgia Association, the GAR contracts, which I use them because I'm an agent and I have to use them as an agent in like agent transactions. I'm kind of required to use those. But in like regular cash sales where I'm the buyer and I'm just dealing directly with the seller, we just have a simple purchase and sale contract that has all of the elements needed to be a legal contract in the state of Georgia. It was written by my attorney and it covers all the bases, right? And it's not like some of these investors have like a really one-sided contract that has a lot of out clauses for them and doesn't really protect the seller at all. Ours has got pretty much an equal amount of protection in it, right? Because I don't believe in screwing people. If you're doing business and you're being an honest person, you don't need all that crap because it's all unnecessary, right? So anyways, so we signed a contract and then generally within, we've closed as quickly. The fastest deal I've ever closed was in 8 days from contract to close, 8 days. That's the fastest one I've ever done. That's not very typical because I would say even 2-week closings, like 14 days, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that most people don't realize that the closing attorney is doing, getting payoffs, getting maybe property tax payoffs, maybe there's a mortgage payoff, maybe they've got to get water bills paid. Like most people don't realize this, but if you're on like county or city water, that water bill has to be paid as part of closing. So the closing attorney is going to reach out to the water company to get whatever the payoff on the bill is. It's like a state requirement here in Georgia. And then they've got to get all these other things. Maybe there's some old lien in the seller's name and the estate's name from, Discover card from 12 years ago for $2,100, right? They have to go to Discover and get a payoff from Discover because they're legally required to pay off any liens that are attached to that property, right? On the title search. So you go through that process. I would say our average closing is about 21 days. Average. We try to close it somewhere between that 14 to 21 day mark is usually what we do because 14 is kind of pushing it a little bit, but it seems like the sweet spot by day 14, we've usually got everything we need, day 14, 15, something like that. So that's kind of how that process works. And then you show up to closing and then the property's sold and the money gets wired to the estate account. It can't go to you personally as the heir. It goes to the estate account. And then whoever the representative of the estate account then takes the money from the estate account and disperses it to the heirs. Usually at that point, the mortgage will get paid off if there's a mortgage on it. That'll all happen at closing, right? So that's an investor sale. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, right? You reach out to the investor, we make you an offer. If you like it, we sign a contract, we schedule a closing, and as soon as you got your letters, we can close, and boom, that's it. It's just very simple, right? And you can do a remote closing, by the way. We do this all the time. In fact, I did a remote closing as a seller. I was selling a house and we were trying to get it sold before I went on vacation a few weeks back, and we couldn't get it closed for one reason or another. So I ended up signing the closing documents when I was on vacation at the beach. We vacationed at the Outer Banks, North Carolina, and I had to drive we were on the southern Outer Banks. I had to drive like an hour north up into Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina to it's not a UPS store, it's like Pack and Ship or something, and sign my closing documents and have them notarized and stamp and send them in a overnight FedEx thing. And the reason I didn't sign them down where I was is because they didn't collect overnight FedEx They only did it once a week down on the southern Outer Banks and like Hatteras and Buxton and stuff like that. They only come to they do the overnight one time a week, versus up in Kill Devil Hills where it's more populated. They come every day and pick up the FedEx Express stuff. So I drove an hour north up there to sign all the documents, sent it FedEx Express. Overnight, they shipped it back to Georgia, and then my attorney got it the next morning, opened it up, and boom, we signed and closed and sold it. We do remote closings like that all the time with sellers who don't live in Georgia and they don't want to come to Georgia. We just send them a closing packet. Usually we'll get a mobile notary to go meet them at their house, at Starbucks, at wherever they want. The mobile notary will meet them there. They'll sign all the paperwork, give the paperwork to the notary. Notary drops it in a FedEx box. It gets mailed back to Georgia. As soon as the original documents come back to Georgia and the attorney has them in their hand, they close everything out. Everything's done. Because by that point, we've wired the money. Usually we wired the money the day before, so the money's in their account, and then they just disperse everything and it's closed, right? Now let's talk about closing with an agent. There's a few more steps in that, right? First of all, person dies, you go through probate, you get the house ready to sell, you choose an agent, right? You're reaching out, finding an agent, right? You list the house. The house might sit on the market for who knows long, hopefully only like a day or two, right? I hope that. But in today's market, not really. I've got a property right now. It's a condo in Alpharetta, which was an estate probate deal, by the way. Probably the smartest thing the Executor did, but I've been holding that thing. It's been on the market for over a year now. I haven't been able to sell it. The condo market is terrible right now. And I've had little traffic on the thing. I am priced right. I've dropped my price a bunch. And it's just not moving. And so how long is it going to take to sell? I don't know. So you put the house on the market, and then you maybe get an offer from a buyer, and then that buyer maybe backs out, and then you got to relist it, and then you get another buyer. And then from that point, the closing process is about the same. Now, if your buyer at the end is getting a mortgage and stuff, usually that process takes about a month. There are some lenders that can close it quicker, but in most cases, it's like a month. By then the house is sold, and then everything else is pretty much the same afterwards. So, I hope this video was helpful. I know I try to cram a lot of information in these videos, but the reality is these topics are pretty complicated. If you watch the whole thing, you got to this point and you want to talk about selling this property you've inherited, we'd love to make you an offer on it. We can make you a cash offer on that house. We buy houses for cash all the time. I've been doing it for 10 years, helped 350 plus homeowners over the last 10 years sell their homes for cash. Or we can talk about listing it. I'm a licensed real estate agent with One Source out of Woodstock, Georgia. So I have the ability to put my real estate agent hat on and list that house for you as well. So if you want to talk about any of those things, go over to probatehouseguy.com, fill out the form there on the page, and then a member of our team will be in touch with you ASAP, and we'll schedule a time to see the house, come out and see the house, make you an offer, that sort of thing. Thanks again for checking out this video. I'm Brad, the Probate House Guy. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.